So you want to know what it's like to drive a C8 Corvette Z06. I'll give you a heads up. This is the greatest creation from Chevy ever in terms of Corvette history. You could argue it's the C6 ZR1, you could argue it's the C7 ZR1, but well, just wait till we go for a drive in this thing. Now, I do want to touch on the exterior just before we go for a drive because, well, this is a little bit controversial. From a design standpoint, this is absolutely beautiful. But from a Corvette standpoint, it's not really a Corvette anymore. This is now a supercar. All of its angles, how low, all Corvettes are low to the ground, but all of the room for cooling, the total redesign makes this just a supercar now. And even the back end of this car is so beautiful. I think they look weird when they don't have a spoiler on the back, so I'm glad to see a spoiler in the back of this one. By the way, because this is the C8 Z06, it's gonna have center place quad tip exhaust. I'm glad they put that on the Z06s because when I drove the C8 Stingray, I really missed that because it's on the C7 Stingrays and Z06s, so very glad to see it back on here. But I just can't decide what the better angle of this car is. Every way you look at it, it is so beautiful. And by the way, for the tires in the back, as you can see, 345 in width. This is the fattest rear tire I've ever seen on a car. Now, on the side here, you're also going to have a Z06 badge. I will say, to the untrained eye, there's really not a whole lot that makes you go, oh, it's a Z06. You kind of have to look for the badge. This is 3.5 inches wider than the Stingray, but I mean, other than that, there's just not a whole lot of telltale signs that you're looking at a Z06. When you get in the interior though, well, first you're greeted by Z06 on the door sill, carbon bucket seats, and you jump in here and you have Z06 right down here on the flat bottom steering wheel. Full Alcantara, by the way. Oh my gosh, when you jump in the interior, even here, it is like just as cool and beautiful as it is on the outside. But with that being said, what's the third thing that's beautiful about this car, and arguably the most beautiful, is, well, the flat plane crank V8 sitting right behind us, making 670 horsepower, and you hear every bit of that when you start this car up. Oh my gosh. Now, I've brought this up in other videos with C8 Corvettes. This feels like one of the most cockpit interiors ever, but it is so modern now. Just the strip of buttons, 2 screens, nothing analog, so much electronic stuff. I am a fan of it. I know some people really like the more analog style, not a whole lot of electronic stuff in cars. You're not gonna have that option in the C8 Stingray or Z06. And you know what you also don't have the option of? A manual transmission. Those are starting to go goodbye. You can't have it all, by the way. I mean, let's thank Chevy for still keeping a car like this in 2024. With the way that the car industry is moving, I mean, I was afraid that we wouldn't see a car like this being made at this point, and we might not by the year 2030. Unless Chevy continues down this path, and I really hope they do. Now, let's go ahead and start this video off, as always, with a acceleration. We're just gonna press this little Z button right here to put it into my mode, and by the way, it's basically track, if you will. And first gear, let's see what this thing does. The feeling you get out of this makes you realize you're just not in what you thought what a Corvette was gonna be. You are now in a top tier supercar. Certainly not a hypercar, and maybe the ZR1, the C8 ZR1 could be considered a hypercar when it comes out, because seriously, over 1,000 horsepower in a car this lightweight, 670 is enough. Trust me when I say that. I mean, you could probably feel how aggressive that acceleration was through the camera. I mean, the gear shifts when it hits 8,500 RPM, just bangs your head back, and then you're just stuck, glued back to the carbon bucket seats. It is a surreal experience. Now, before we switch back to sport or track mode, which by the way, it has both, I do want to talk about just chilling in this car, like not really trying to go crazy. Could you daily drive this thing? And my answer is yes. Aside from the tight side bolsters on these seats, I mean, that's really my only complaint with the how comfortable the C8 Z06 is to drive. I mean, when I was driving out here to start recording, I found myself just casually listening to music. If the road isn't super bumpy or rough, I mean, you're just riding in a car. You're riding in style, and you're riding in a car that you can just click a button and start treating it like a race car, which this car is a race car. But this would be a very, very easy car to just relax in. Sure, it's not as comfortable as some sedans like a BMW or an SUV of any sorts, but still, this isn't a rough ride whatsoever. I mean, when you go from the C7 Z06 to the C8 Z06, you just feel how much more refined this car is. It's not that it's like a luxury car. It's a sports car, don't get me wrong, but it is surprising to see how tame this car can be if you want it to be. Because the dual clutch automatic, it shifts so smooth. The acceleration, naturally aspirated V8, it is so smooth. The steering is sharp, but adjustable and smooth. And by the way, not to mention, if you click vehicle here and go to drive mode customization, go to my mode, I mean, there is a whole lot of options that you can switch and adjust. And Z mode is set to pretty much everything in the sportiest setting. I mean, that is just so unbelievably smooth, and you're holding on to the Alcantara steering wheel with a heated steering wheel, by the way, and you can put on your heated seats or your cooled seats. Of course, you got climate control. The speakers in here are phenomenal. I mean, I cannot believe how much of a dual personality the C8 Z06 has. And well, let's turn the switch a little bit and talk about its more sporty personality. Let's go to Z mode and let's do this thing. Speedometer jumps up is incredible, and I don't even think we went past like 5,000 or 4,500 RPM. But I know you guys want to see it go past 4,500 RPM, so let's do that. Oh my gosh! It is hard to describe how different this is than any other Corvette that exists today. I mean, it has so far surpassed the feeling that the Stingray gives you. It has so far surpassed the feeling the C7 Z06 gives you. It is in its own realm. And, you know, comparing the two cars, C7 Z06 versus C8 Z06, that's a separate video. But it's just, this is Corvette reimagined. And everything from the how sharp the steering is to having the engine in the middle of this car, and you feel how capable this is to launch and corner. I don't know how to put it in words other than, for $120,000, this is a 10 out of 10 car. The complaints that I do have about the C8 Z06 are ridiculous complaints, like the door sill being too big and so it makes it difficult to get out. The design not really looking like a Corvette, but who cares? It looks like a supercar and it's a beautiful design. The interior, the weird strip, not that I hate it, it's just weird. It takes a minute to get used to, and especially when you first get in it, it takes a moment to figure out where things are. Maybe it's gonna take your eyes off of the road for a second while you have to look with precision to press the right button. But come on, you're not driving your C8 Z06 worrying about what setting your heated seats are on. You're driving it to press Z mode, downshift, and do this. I mean, what is it like to drive a C8 Z06? It depends on who you are and how you drive it. But the second you actually start pushing the car to the point where what it was built to be pushed for, you're gonna buy the car. And if you don't have enough money to buy it, which, well, I don't, but I would maybe, arguably, this is the first car I'm gonna say this, I would actually consider going in debt to buy this car. Like, that is how much happiness this thing brings me. It is unbelievable. And not to mention, the main reason why I say that is because when you look at this car's competition, the competition really only starts at cars that are priced at $200,000 and beyond. Like, this is comparable to a Huracan. It has more horsepower than a Huracan. It has a design that is as cool as the Huracan. The only thing it doesn't have is that status symbol attached to it. It's still a Corvette, and you see C8s pretty much everywhere. So, you know, people aren't gonna look at you the same way they look at you if you were in a Lamborghini Huracan. But if that's what you're concerned about, then go buy a Lamborghini. This is for the person who really just wants that thrill of driving. Not to say the Huracan doesn't give you that thrill, but maybe it's the slightly lower expectations I had for this car. I thought, this isn't gonna be like Huracan level. No, it's beyond Huracan level. Exhibit A. Oh my gosh! That was the first time we actually lost traction like that in a while. Wow. It is about 40 degrees outside, so I was expecting to, you know, have the car feel a little bit more loose. Surprised that it hasn't, though. Again, that tire width in the back being 345 is unbelievable. Oh my! And by the way, not to mention, I do want to talk about, it's still a Corvette, which sure, from the standpoint of like status, is not the same level as Lamborghini or anything, but the parts costs and the labor costs are not going to be Lamborghini level costs. Nice little 911 right there. That's beautiful. And that is just what makes this car even more appealing. Now, it's going to be more expensive than a C7 Stingray, probably more than expensive than a C7 Z06 as well. But again, it's not exotic level maintenance costs, which is just unbelievable how well everything from cost to own, cost to purchase, acceleration, braking, cornering, the sound, the practicality. Well, actually, practicality is better than you think. It has two trunks, one in the front, one small one in the back. The one in the back is very wide, not long. I mean, this car has it all. Very close to having it all. Again, there's only 3 minor complaints I can think of, and seriously, are we gonna call those complaints? I mean, that's ridiculous. Even the way this thing accelerates at 2,000 RPM, absolutely unbelievable. I mean, I said the same thing about the C7 Z06, by the way. Like, the acceleration power you get at 2,000 RPM is equivalent to normal cars at the red line. Like, that's how fast this thing is when you're not even trying to go fast. The lightest tap of that gas pedal, you're getting up to speed much quicker than you thought, which means, obviously, well, drive with caution, drive with some maturity, but definitely have fun. Imagine buying a Corvette and driving it like a Corolla owner. Come on. That's ridiculous. Just be safe. Look at your speedometer. Trust me, you're going to want to look at that, because you're going to realize you're going way faster than you thought you were. But enjoy it. Take a little bit of a risk. That's how I look at it if I were to own this thing. But man, what is it like to drive this car? It feels like you have it all. It feels like there is nothing else to even dream about. This is just it. If you already own a C8 Z06, maybe you just want another one in a different color. that is how I feel about this car. I'm sure, you know, you could always dream about like a Pagani or a Bugatti, but are we really going to be comparing this car to $3-4 million cars? That's not what I'm here to do. Maybe a Lamborghini SVJ, that's something you could dream about after driving this. I'm sure the C8 ZR1 will be something to dream about once that actually hits the road if you own this. But this is all you need, trust me. Anybody with a lot of experience driving sports cars, I'm sure they'll tell you the same thing. This is insane to people who have driven fast cars. As always, guys, I appreciate all of you so much for watching these videos. A lot of time and a lot of money goes into these, so when you show your support by hitting the like button or leaving a comment, you don't know how much I appreciate that. I dream of getting even cooler cars as time goes on. As always, love y'all, and I will see you in the next video. Peace out.